in 2030, one in every four Singaporeans will be over 65 years old. Constructing a nursing home will take years, and it will only be, for 200, 300 beds. If the elderly would have their own preference, they still would want to stay at home. My vision, even therapy and exercises and rehabilitation that can be delivered at home will actually work out more economical, and it's more convenient for the elderly.
Welcome back to the Service Business Show. Today I have Seth from Aseana. Maybe Seth, you can give everyone an introduction of who you are and what do you guys do.
Okay, thank you very much, Jingjing, and hello to everyone. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for inviting us. I am Tess, and I'm from Aseana Caregivers. We are actually based in Singapore, so we provide live-in caregivers and interim caregivers.
Yeah, before, I met you, one of the reasons, like I mentioned, I wanted to reach out to you is because I saw all the great reviews from your Google Maps, and then you guys have been in business for a very long time. It's been almost 10 plus years, right?
Correct. Yeah, that's correct. Yes.
Like when I went to your office, right? Your office does not look like the traditional, like, maid agency that we're seeing. You guys look super professional. Can you kind of just help me to understand your journey? When you first, how did you came up with this idea?
Yes. Actually, I'm originally from the Philippines, but I'm Singapore PR, so I've been in Singapore for 30 years now. And I've been in the business, in the employment agency business, like almost like 17 to 18 years. So we started actually to provide service staff to restaurants, F&B, hotels. But I noticed that a lot of our candidates are actually nursing graduates. So I was thinking, and I can see that there is a gap in the market, because the elderly population in Singapore is increasing. And they said that in 2030, one in every four Singaporeans will be over 65 years old. So actually, the government and the private sector are all like, taking a lot of solutions for this, big, it's like silver tsunami. There's a lot of elderly that Singapore will be a super aged society. So I was thinking, what a waste, this nursing graduates becoming service staff. So it's a waste. So I saw the gap in the market. There's a supply. We have very good supply of caregivers and nurses from the Philippines. But because you see, Filipinos, they like to serve. They like to care. Like there's a lot of nursing graduates in the Philippines, and they are underemployed. And in Singapore, there's a shortage of caregivers and nurses. So actually, I thought this is a good, good potential business opportunity, but I need to do a market awareness because we are actually bringing them in under the work permit category. So people would think, oh, are they maids? So I have to go around the hospitals and introduce that this is a new service and these are trained caregivers. So they are not helpers, they are not helpers. But unfortunately, because they will be working in the home environment and with the Singapore Ministry of Manpower, they only have this work permit category. But these are trained nurses and trained caregivers, and they will focus on the caregiving side. It's not like the helpers that they will do everything, from cleaning but they do a minimal household chores related to the patient, related to the care recipient. We call them care recipient. So actually,
Gotcha.
Jingjing, we have two types of caregivers. We have live-in caregivers. So it means that the caregiver actually will live in and stay in with the employer. And this is actually suitable for long-term care. Those with chronic illnesses, those like bedridden and wheelchair bound. And we do also provide ad hoc interim caregiver services. So these interim caregiver services, they are suitable for short-term care. Like, maybe the helper is or the caregiver is going on home leave, or, they just, or post hospitalization, like just newly discharged from the hospital. So the family is looking for like maybe caregiving service for like a 1 week or 2 weeks, just to it's just the transition from the hospital to the home. Yes.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, I do see there's quite some people writing in reviews saying that Grace, for example, she's very professional and helping one of the clients' father gaining strength after the hospital stayed. And then there's a lot of people, they always mention the caregiver's name, saying that the kids even grown like attachment toward the caregiver. But even if their primary job is to really take care of the patient, but still the whole family just feel like this really improves the quality of life for these elderly individuals at home. So how have you seen this kind of at-home caregiving has obviously we talk about it offline, right? Like there's also caregiver homes, elderly centers, but in just terms of quality of living, what do you think is the biggest difference in terms of getting a caregiver at your own place versus going to elderly care?
Actually, I am I am an advocate early receiving care at home. Being elderly caregiver is actually best affordable alternative rather than sending your loved ones and stay in the nursing home. Because when they hire a caregiver, a in caregiver, elderly, still able to like have some independence. They can still do the things that they enjoy. Their quality of life is better, and they can go to temple or churches or the malls. They still have some independence, and they're like they have some quality of life rather than if the elderly is in the nursing home. Of course, we know there's a shortage of staff, so perhaps in the nursing home, in the ward, they're like 20 uh patients to maybe 2 or 3 caregivers. There's not, there's they cannot be like, they cannot be served on one. So they have like a certain schedule. They have to eat breakfast at the same time. They take a bath at the same time. So they have no choice. They are like just in the nursing home. So it's very limited. So
Yeah.
unlike if they have a live-in caregiver, this is like just not providing them care, but providing them companionship. And the elderly actually will have more they have more pride because they are in their own homes. They are more familiar. It's a familiar environment. And they have their familiar things around them. Yeah, that eventually and definitely they will have a better quality of life.
Understood. But does that also mean that it's going to be more expensive than going to nursing home?
No, not at all. Not at all. Actually, employing a caregiver is not that expensive. Of course, there's the one-time agency fee. No, but usually the contract is for 2 years. Okay, and then the salary will be around $800 onwards because depends on the condition of the patient and depends on the skills of the caregiver. But in the nursing home, it's also not cheap.
Yeah.
And I mean, you'll be surprised. It's actually in the thousands as well. I think around 2,000 and up. But some will also, of course, will get a subsidy. But it's also not cheap. I mean, they still have to pay for other extras. And
Yeah.
this, from what I know, in the market, this is from what I know. There's also a waiting list in the nursing home. Yeah, because I mean, constructing a nursing home will take years, maybe 2 years, 3 years, and it will only be for maybe how many beds, 200, 300 beds. But you can just imagine like how many elderly in Singapore. And so if there is a preference, if the elderly, would have their own preference, they still would want to stay at home.
Absolutely. And especially like it's a home where you've been living in for the last decades, right?
Yes, it's a
And you have
familiar
your
environment for them.
Yeah, yeah. So it makes a lot of sense. And we have also talked about kind of having a part-time caregiver coming to people's place. Breakfast, you have a caregiver A, lunch, you have a caregiver B, and everyone has a different task. I think you talk
Okay.
about this.
Actually, yeah, that's one is like my vision.
Yeah.
It's just like hopefully, at the moment we provide like 12-hour shift.
Yeah.
One caregiver will go to the house, but it's something that we can look into, in the future, because we need to like uh look up like think about, what else can we do. There's a lot of things that can be delivered at home, like home caregiver, home nursing, home therapy, home diagnostic, like instead of the elderly going to the hospital
Hospital. Yeah.
in an ambulance for blood tests or anything, which is very troublesome also for the elderly, and there's a lot of cost involved. Why not we deliver it home?
Yeah.
And even therapy and exercises and rehabilitation that can be delivered at home will actually work out more economical, and it's more convenient for the elderly.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think your vision, Singapore government has already pushing forward to this by having the pilot scheme under HSS, right? We all know that they're trying to get more part-time elderly care. Kind of, they have already given a lot of companies this kind of like permit to allow them to hire people. However, like I think what you guys offered is more on the nursing side because you
Yes,
only
correct. Yes.
hire. Yeah, you told me that you only experienced nurses or caregivers, right? Can you kind of walk me through what's the selection process for you to figure out, okay, this person's qualified versus this person's not qualified?
Yeah. I would just like walk you through the how when we receive an inquiry, actually like ask for information about the care recipient, like what's the age, what's the condition, mobility, feeding, is the care recipient feeding orally or on NGT feeding or PEG. So what's the condition of the care recipient? Then from there we will find the suitable caregiver that has the necessary skills and the experience to look after the care recipient. Because it's not like one size fits all. It's like okay, caregiver can do everything. So we have to make sure that the caregiver that we put forward, we recommend to our clients, has the skills and the experience. Because actually caregiving is not like a cleaning job.
Yeah, no.
Or because we are dealing with lives. We are
Yeah.
dealing with somebody's mother, somebody's father. They are very, very fragile. And because of their age, their health is not very good. So there's a lot of consideration to take into. So we cannot just put anyone without training or without experience. Caregiving cannot be learned in 2 or 3 days. It cannot be learned. We tried it, it's doesn't work. Like a helper, zero knowledge, you train for clip for 3 days, it doesn't work. Because the work, the classroom training is different with the actual experience. So
Yeah.
we really emphasize we only take those at least with minimum 6 months experience. Because we want someone who is confident. Although when they are from overseas, they are from Philippines or they are from Myanmar. Actually, 90% of our caregivers are from the Philippines because we have our own training center. We have our own training center in the Philippines. Uh, Even though they are already experienced, they are working in hospitals as nursing aides, or once they arrive in Singapore, we do another refresher training because the standard in their home country is different. The way they do NGTCD in the Philippines is different way when they use NGTCD in Singapore. Even transferring is different. There's a lot, although they already have the concept. They already understand. The physical part of it. They understand. But it's just the process is different. Here is more stringent. Even infection control is the standards are very high. So
Yeah.
we need to refresh them to show them, okay, this is Singapore standard of way of doing things. And once they go to the employer's house, we actually send another trainer, which is our own nurse manager, in case they need further training. Because although they have experience, many years of experience, different stages, but each patient, each care recipient is different.
Mm,
And so we want to support the family in this way because a lot of the families, it's their first time.
yeah,
Like it's their first time to hire a caregiver. They also themselves don't know what to do. They don't know how to like to take care of because there are like nursing care or whatever. So they actually don't know. So we want to support them by providing further training. We
right.
have our nurse manager to look into, okay, what needs to be done. If there's any, like gap in the training, we send our nurse manager. There's no additional fees. They can request as many sessions as they want.
So does the nurse manager also to come up with like a caregiver plan? Because most of
Yes, that's
these
correct. Yes. Yeah. They
and how
will
does the plan look like?
the care plan would look because the nurse manager will assess the care recipient's condition. For example, the care recipient is diabetic. Okay, so the care plan would suit a diabetic person. For example, what time in the morning, take the vital signs, give morning care, then do the bathing, showering, then check the glucose, the sugar level, these things it's tailored to the condition of the patient.
Understood.
Yes,
I
yeah.
see. I see. That's very cool. So it sounds like on the supply, right? On the staff level, you have already, a training center in the Philippines. You also have a very stringent filtering process. And now you also have training process in Singapore to make sure whatever they've learned has been localized, adapted to the Singapore context. Then the bigger question is, I know you've been in this space for 10 plus years, right? When you first started out, how do you get your first batch of customers?
It was really, in those days,
Yeah.
during that time, we have to like advertise in the newspaper. So
Uh,
if we have, we have to like advertise our services in the papers. So we were the first one to coin the word live-in caregiver. Last time nobody's using caregiver, the word caregivers. They would use maids. These are not maids. So that's actually one of the challenging part
yeah.
when we started because we have to like educate people. They are not helpers, they are caregivers, and we have to go around, go to the hospital, explain to them. And then when clients come to us, we have to explain to them, they only do household chores related to the care recipient. Okay.
Gotcha.
And so actually we have advertised like 3 lines, provide live-in. So people were like, "Oh, what's live-in caregiver?
Yeah.
What is this?" And then it caught the attention of Straight Times, and I was invited. I was interviewed, and then I explained, "Oh, this is what a live-in caregiver does." So
Yeah.
from there, like other companies came into the
Industry.
bandwagon
Yes.
industry,
Yeah.
but
What about
still
now?
there's
Yeah.
still but there's still like few agencies that are specializing in caregivers. There's
Yeah.
still few.
And so last time we also talked about you start having a newer unit that serves patients, who just kind of left the hospital. You guys receive the contract from MOH helping
Yes, yeah,
these patients,
correct.
right?
Yes, yes.
So it sounds like that part basically there's more demand than you can supply to the patients who are just leaving hospital. Is that right?
Actually, they're both sides. The live-in caregiver and the interim caregiver has a lot of demand, very high demand, very high demand. The thing is, because when we place the caregiver, there's a lot of process, like more than 30 30 steps before we actually, you know, it's just that like, okay, you choose, okay, this, no, it doesn't work that way. There's a lot of process. So we want to, provide a good service. It's just not
Yeah.
like, okay, no, no. And then when they have a problem, we are there. So
Yeah.
and because there will be like both, there will be some adjustment period caregiver and the employer or the care recipient, there will be adjustment period. So we will be supporting them. So the one that you mentioned about this interim caregiver service is actually a scheme, a program by the government that they help those who are already stable,
Yeah.
ready to be discharged, but they don't have a caregiver at home, because it's very like this critical, critical period from the hospital to the home is very critical. So
Yeah.
the government wants to to support the families in that transition. So we are one of the providers for this service, and it's subsidized service by the government.
It makes so much sense, right? Like when you know a patient who's ready to leave the hospital, but let's say they still need their stitches to be changed, need to change their feeding tubes, whatever that, that means to get through the critical period. But it doesn't make sense for them to have a hospital bed and then pay for that crazy, inpatient, is that a hospitalization fee, right? Even if you have
Yes.
insurance, whatever to cover.
And actually there are other patients who need the bed.
Yeah.
Like emergency, sometimes there's a long queue of patients coming in, but that's why they need to free the bed for the next patient. So
Yeah.
it does help. And when actually the patient is being cared for at home, the recovery is faster.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
because
they're in the environment they're
yes,
familiar
and
with.
actually, and another thing that can also impact is the longer they stay in the hospital, maybe they can get other infection, because the environment. I mean, the reality is there that they are actually exposed to more
Disease. Yeah.
further infection. Yeah. So the earlier that they can get home, it's actually better for the well-being of the care recipient. And our caregivers will do the monitoring, the vital signs, the medication, and we also have a nurse manager, just in case they need help. Our caregivers need help, then the nurse manager can also come in. So I think the reason why a lot of our clients take like very what's the heartwarming reviews, because actually bonus, that's the icing on the cake, that we get this reviews, is because they feel it's like the time that they need help most, like it's very so when they get this help, they are very appreciative.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, this is one of the reasons I want to talk to you, right? Not like other businesses where I know, okay, they're not focusing on getting, caregiving, like providing the service, but what they're trying to do is something else. There's a second motivation. But the question is, since you mentioned there's more demand than, the supply that you have, what's the main, obviously nowadays we know people don't really read newspapers anymore, right? Do you normally
Yes.
get inquiries, let's say, still from advertising, or do you get inquiries just from hospital flyering and all that?
We do a lot of referrals from the hospitals, because those interim caregivers are short term, right? Maybe
Yeah.
12 days or 15 days. And if they need a live-in caregiver, then we can also provide. And the interim caregiver can actually like teach the incoming live-in caregiver. It's like a handover. So
Makes
it's
sense.
like a smoother transition, because the interim caregiver already knows the care recipient, so she can like just hand over. This is this is the routine for the day, because sometimes the care recipient, the elderly, they have their own preferences. This is the way they want to do things. This is like the food they like. This is so those important things the interim caregiver can pass on to the
Yeah.
information to the live-in caregiver. So it's a shorter adjustment period.
Yeah, understand. But also I remember when I met you, right? You were mentioning some families, they don't really understand the difference in between having a full-time maid versus a living caregiver. And a lot of time they just feel like I can also get my maid to do this. So what do you think is the major difference in between hiring a caregiver versus, let's say, having a full-time maid with some sort of experience?
Because depends on the family friends. Ever if, for example, you have the maid and then you teach them how to still take care. Of course, the level, the standard of care is not there. The
Mm,
helper, he just just bring it in 2 or 3 days. So it just this is based on my experience. For example, transferring the care recipient from bed to wheelchair, there is a technique, or else it injures the caregiver, or it will injure the patient if
mm,
there's not the right technique. So if it's just a helper, she will just try on her own how she feels, like no technique at all, just like so it will be very rough, the way they will do things. But if you get a trained caregiver who knows the right technique,
mm,
then it's safer both for the patient and also for the caregiver. And infection control for the maids, it's like maybe for them it's like it's not very important, but a trained caregiver would know infection control. Infection control actually is very important because the elderly, their immunity is very low.
yeah.
So if you don't like properly wash the hands, and then you take care of the elderly, then it can cause infection. If the equipment that is being used is not properly clean before using, it can cause infection. Yeah. Actually, taking care of the elderly is I must say you have to heart for it. You have to have the heart to look after the elderly because they cannot say to you, they cannot say, "Oh, I'm in pain," So the caregiver has to like look and be like like an investigative person, like, oh, why is she why is she in the face like shows that she's in pain, but she cannot say where, like, and and sometimes they don't know how to express themselves. They cannot say, oh, this is pain. They also don't understand why they are in pain. So it's up to the caregiver to look up into these details,
Yeah.
and will actually update the family. Or I think your or for example, simple things that we take for granted. The care recipient haven't been drinking enough water, so that can cause dehydration. That can cause like further complication. Okay,
Yeah.
the recipient haven't gone to the toilet for 3 days. That's can cause complication. I mean,
Oh,
simple
wow.
things like
Yeah.
that we take for granted is actually very important. So input and output of the elderly is very important to be monitored.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
without having that nursing background, I think these things are not like with someone with nursing background, these are almost like a second nature, right? They were like, hey, you haven't gone to toilet today. Yesterday, you also haven't gone. Then they will be alerted. They're like, okay, that's not right.
correct.
Versus if you just have a full-time maid because they have so many other household chores, for example, cleaning, cooking, doing other chores. So these are not in their second nature anymore. So where do you draw the boundary in terms of asking the caregivers to do other household chores versus, just doing the caregiver's job?
We specialize in caregivers. Okay, so when we receive an inquiry, we already inform our clients and manage their expectation. That's These are caregivers. They will focus on the elderly, and they will do household chores related to the elderly only, not with the other family members. Because actually, if you think about it, it's just not possible. How can you like the caregiver, will take care of the elderly, and at the same time will clean the whole house, and it's just not possible because the care to the patient will what you call that will suffer
Yeah.
because they will do the household chores first. So we have had experience, not our caregivers, but when the family actually decided, okay, they want to get a caregiver because for example, dementia, the care recipient has dementia. Dementia is like they're confused, or sometimes it's very suspicious. They will like, they will accuse that, oh, you took my money, this. Now, if the maid doesn't have any training, that's a caregiver, she will take it personally. Like, oh my God, like But if a trained caregiver, they would know this is part of the illness. This is the symptoms of dementia. So they would know how to manage and how to handle the patient. Yeah, that it will
Yeah.
not escalate. It will not, because like a maid would like, then I didn't, they will take it to heart when they are being
Yeah.
accused. Yeah, because they
Yeah.
don't understand, why is she accusing me when I did not see anything.
Oh my God, that's such a difficult scenario. Like I've seen some of the documentaries. It says family who are dealing with dementia. It's not just the patient themselves suffering, but also the family members, because not like having a caregiver understand, okay, these are part of symptoms, because family members are seeing the person is losing themselves. So it's a lot of mental toll. It's like a huge toll on the family, right? Not to mention to take care of the patient while going through the emotional kind of trouble, right?
Yes, yeah,
So
yeah.
I
And
do think,
actually, and it's increasing. The number of patients care recipient with dementia actually is increasing. And what is it's troubling is it's getting younger. There are young onset dementia care recipients as young as 50 years old, 55 years old. We have seen this younger adults who has dementia.
do you know the reason behind this?
Of course, I'm not, but I really don't know why. But I think I don't know. But I don't know what is the science behind why it's getting younger.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's really, man, like,
And actually, that is one of that is what makes my job satisfying.
yeah,
It's so fulfilling that we can see, we see the family, and then okay, this is their problem. This are their issues, and we try to help them. And then when actually we are able to match them, you're like, okay, good. And the caregiver will stay and will actually provide a good service to the care recipient, and they have bonded. They have very become close, they become attached. And we are so happy. We are so happy that we are able to help in this way. It
yeah,
is what makes our job fulfilling.
yeah, I bet. So far, after this many years, how many patients have you guys served?
I can't remember. I can't remember the exact, but normally we have like around. I mean, this is for the live-in caregivers. We actually bring in around 20 to 30 caregivers per month, and of course the interim caregiver. We have a lot as well.
Yeah. So by now, is it safe to say you guys have served thousands,
Yes, and
hundred
sometimes
thousands?
we provided caregiver to the husband.
Yeah.
Once husband passed away, it's the wife would need a caregiver. So sometimes we have like families, like relations that actually
So if you have magic wand that you can change one thing tomorrow in your company, what would it be?
in our company or in the industry.
Okay, let's go with industry first. Okay. You can change one thing in the industry, what would it be?
Actually, it's just not one thing. It's many things. It's many
You
things.
have to pick one problem to solve.
Okay, one problem to solve. Things the most at the moment that which I think is important is to provide the Ministry of Manpower or Ministry of Health. They will like allow a special category for caregivers. Then it will separate them from the helpers. So they can be categorized as caregivers. So it means that they have to have a certain level of training and skill as part of their application. And then the family will also be clear, okay, she is a caregiver, they will only do the caring for them. So there's no because now there's a lot of overlapping.
Overlap.
Is a helper or is a caregiver? Yeah. And actually, we have families that they have like 3 caregivers and 1 helper, because the care recipient needs 24-hour care, and then the caregiver needs to go for home. Off day. They need rest, so that they have like 3 shifting. It's like they bring the ICU into their home. They have all the gadgets. They have all the and yeah. So perhaps if there's like a special category caregiver, then the family can actually get other helpers to do the household.
Gotcha. what about having magic wand and solve one problem in your company? What would it be?
I think marketing, we need a lot of help with the marketing because
Okay.
I think there's not many people knows about us. We need to, go out more.
Yeah,
Yeah, do more marketing. Yeah, here.
definitely. I mean, for a 5-star service like what you guys have been providing for the last 10 years, I do think you deserve a lot more spotlight. And also, people should know you guys more, knowing that, okay, this is a professional caregiving company. And just like, honestly, I just looking at some of the reviews, you can see some family members, they're like, as they're writing the review, they're getting teared up. They just feel like you guys have helped them so much. So, definitely, I think, yeah, I'm learning so much from you, and I love your passion, and I love the quality that you thrive to bring to every single household. And the strange, and like, I last time you told me about your filtering process, I was like, why can't you just train them? And they're like, no, not acceptable. So that's how I know you're actually here to provide the best service and the best quality to every single household. So I think that's super hard to achieve. So kudos to you and your team.
Yes. And it's our culture, it's our culture that we want to provide the best experience to our customers, to our clients. And actually it goes down to our caregivers as well. Because it's our company culture that, we want to provide a good service. So it's just not like anyhow, like, okay, just do your thing and then, and as long as you get paid and that's it. No, we have a proper provide an experience because having an elderly parent, I myself, my mom is elderly, so I can understand, where they're coming from. And especially in Singapore, it's not easy, it's expensive, it's like, they have to work. We're talking about like a lot of sandwich generation, like they are looking after their elderly parents, and at the same time they also have their own kids. So, and then so we don't want to add to their burden. We don't want to add. We are here to solve the problem. Some problem with the caring. So yes.
Yeah. It's what a noble kind of service line to work in. So
Yeah. And
definitely we need
actually,
more
Ginger,
people.
if if I may share, actually, my vision for the future, we want to be like a one-stop shop for caregiving needs. Like, okay, you need a living caregiver. We have. You need a interim caregiver. You need
Part-time caregiver.
maybe yes, and you need home doctor, home medical. You need home therapy. So it's just like because now it's actually you have to call many providers, for all this small. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like one stop shop for caregiving.
Definitely. I think you're in a very good position to become a company like that. So hopefully we'll get there soon.
Yeah,
And
thanks, Will. Thank you for inviting me. And yeah, thank you really. I mean, I'm glad that I'm able to share,
yeah, your vision. Yes. Yes. Thank you so much. That's super interesting company and what you guys have done there. I look forward to connecting with you more and helping your company to grow and to thrive. Yeah.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much for your time.
Thank
Really
you. Okay, thank you everyone. Bye.